Scott is here.
It's the phone. That's so disgusting. Please don't get it.
Yeah, it is. Those glasses. No, it's alright. It's alright.
Yeah, art can't be bad. What are you talking about?
Hello, everyone.
That was good.
Hi. My name is Emily Cinquamani, and I'm the poetry instructor here at the Governor's School, as well as the Creative Writing Department Chair. And I'm so happy to welcome you to our senior end of the year readings. I'm going to start, as I did last time, with a quick reminder to please silence your cell phones, and also with some thank yous. Thank you so much for your support of our department. This year, thanks to the support of our community, we've been able to bring several excellent guest writers to campus, including Michael Clune, Gabrielle Calvacaresi, Sarah Blackman, and Joni Tevis. And we've been able to pay for our students to enter national competitions like Scholastics and Young Arts, where several of them placed at both regional and national levels. Thank you so much for your support of our students. Thank you also to my fellow creative writing faculty members. Alan Rossi, our fiction instructor. Hayreem Lee, our creative nonfiction instructor. And Austin Taylor, our playwriting instructor. The different creative writing genres intersect more than you might expect. So regardless of what specific genre or genres you hear each of our writers read tonight, their writing is a product of the work done in all of our classes. Speaking of the work done in our classes, this group of seniors is incredibly hardworking. You'd think that now that we have about 3 weeks left in the school year, these seniors would be winding down, but we've all been impressed by how hard they are still working in their writing classes. This hard work speaks to their dedication to and true love for their craft, and it shows up in the work you'll hear them read tonight. A really good story or poem or essay drops us seamlessly into the world it makes. We walk around with the characters and see the things they see, feel the things they feel. We forget that it's an invention. During this group of writers' final reading, I think you'll experience this seamlessness, this sense of being suspended in the work itself. While this often, to audience members, seems like effortlessness and magic, I can assure you that it is, in fact, the end result of 2 years of intense analytical and creative work on the part of these writers. You'll experience the culmination of their time here, as well as the passion and curiosity that's driven them to persevere. I speak for the whole department when I say I am so proud of the work they've done, and I can't wait for you to experience it too. Please join me in welcoming our first reader, Sarah Smisek.
Hello! So, my name is Saras, and I'm going to be reading a few things, but I'm going to start off with a speculative nonfiction piece titled Adam Jesus Man. For the sake of this story, I've made myself. Are you familiar with Christianity? Here's what I mean. Imagine Jesus Christ was the first instead of Adam. I'm using the Trinity doctrine here, as if God the Father made himself out of clay as the first man on earth. For the sake of this story, I've made myself from desert sand and water beneath a giant palm tree. And upon being made separate from me, my clay man becomes his own man. Amen. I am brown, but he is darker, black in the day and blue at night. His hands are never wholly clean, the sand stuck on his palms remaining constant, preventing a full severance from whence he came. He is never alone, always surrounded by some sort of life, human or leaf or otherwise. After long enough, he's found a way to talk to them all, though it is not a skill innate to him. In his desert, wherever I formed him, his existence remained perpetual. It would be silly if I told you that he wasn't alive until the sand of his body combined with his water blood, because really he was the sand and the water and the air and whatever beetles and horses had roamed around here too. But to gain a new mouth, new mind, new beating heart, to adapt for so long, one must learn to speak again. Immediately after birth, Amen was a vagabond. In this story, he'd gone to so many places that I just can't name them all. He was averse to jungles and cluttered forests, whose humidity suffocated him, and brightly colored frogs stood announcing themselves in random tree corners. But for the longest time, he'd spent his in various civilizations, changing towns as he saw fit. Society was fun for him. It's fun for me too. At night, he rubbed the sand grains on his palms between his fingers, then onto his cheeks and jaw. He couldn't sleep without it, sort of like a baby who sucks its thumb. Who is he without the desert? Who is the desert without him? He wonders if the desert still thinks of him as often as he thinks of it. This goes on for a while, some years, I think, until he goes back to the desert where he was born. The palm there is still giant and foreboding, still announcing itself above all else. It is not so vibrant as it once was, has begun to wilt. Some branches fall as he approaches. Somehow, it had never occurred to him that a tree like this one was capable of wrinkling, swaying, and eventually falling apart. He is aware of it now. He grabs sand, attempts to put the words together like he once could to speak to his father, cannot anymore after so long of speaking in the human way with his mouth and tongue. Eamon is distraught. He comes up with an idea, carries it through. He sinks his legs into the sand where it is as dense as his own muscles, digging with his feet until they touch the palm's roots. Should Eamon leave again? Perhaps it is better that he stays here, just until he is sure of his father's well-being. Now I'm going to read some pieces from my poetry chapbook called The Book of Eamon. Poem 1, The Desert. Water is brown and muddled with clay, barely reflecting giant palms that loom over, sharp as needles, baking in sun, growing dull and disappointed with their water companions. Discomfort is absent from here, giant life oasis. Wind is lazy, sand tumbles over itself, over each other like child feet, packing together and spreading smooth afterward. Horizon is invisible as dirt mixes with sky, all at once, orange against the green, a single body. Poem 2, Eamon is born. Heat is easy when wind blows the sun scabs. I don't need this pool to cool me, but I soak my fingers anyway. When the sun moves a little and the water is still, I roll over to see how I look. My eyes seem full of yellow and brown, unlike some animals here with whites in theirs. Sun burns my back as if it wants to see itself too, so I move and lend it space. When it is early, the liquid is navy, but in the peak of day, it is black. I am the same. Some days are dust days, but in the cool of green bushes, some with needle leaves and others not, I'm safe. From this ground, I hinge at my hips, finally full and fleshy and eager to be. For the first time, I'm separate from the ground. Poem 6, Eamon meets passing men. Men are on horses, slick nut brown with blackened hooves, approaching trees in which I am hidden, dressed in brilliant indigos, mango yellows. I have heard their language before, fix my mouth to talk. It must be strange to find me here. I understand. They wonder how I am not cooked crisp, ready to shake my hand, reach to shake my hand, then dart backwards, hands suddenly blistered, peeling red. Are you okay? I ask them. They whisper between themselves, think I can't hear, think I am some god thing. How are you called? One says, polished beard. Whatever here is called, I tell them. Poem 8, a new batch of passersby. They look different from the last, faces covered in colorful fabrics, cannot notice me at first. I rest beneath a group of trees, sink feet into dirt, then approach the group of men. Where are you from? Are they retreating? Where are you going? I can't help but laugh, bared teeth. The words they make are similar to the others too. Who are you? They ask me. The past group said, Eamon. So I told these men, Eamon. Voices that move quicker, with eyes softer, are from Edfu. I point past them. Take me. This journey is long and full with voices of gold-speckled companions crushed beneath camel hooves. I notice the men are silent. Something new I've learned is to wrap a small bunch of sun in leaves, whatever kind is present, unsure what to name it. Perhaps courtesy, because their eyes burn otherwise at this hot thing. Haven't looked back once since departing. Are you immortal, Amen? One asks. With a full mouth, I speak, and quickly remember they speak with mouth voices. So I try again and say, I haven't died before. Their shoulders shake like laughing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sun Clark. I'm from right here in Greenville, and I'm going to be reading a flash fiction piece in its entirety, entitled Penny for a Beggar. I don't mind grime, he said. Well, you should, Calendar, said his father. You're becoming a bore, Calendar, said his brother. Not a boar, a pig, said his other brother, who had a pointy face and was much shorter than him, and who he hated. The three men stood in identical navy suits across from Calendar in the doorway of the cabin, black silhouettes cut out by the sharp blue gloam of the winter. The door hung wide open, rattling in the wind. If there was snow, it would have fallen past his family and onto the wooden floors, and might have been something like beautiful. But there was only ice that year, and cold rain. Be nice, said his father. Yes, father, said his brothers. Behind them stood the glowing steel specter of Wonder Splash Best Fun Water Park, which, every winter, Calendar worked upkeep at. He liked this job a lot. It was not hard. Other janitors handled what was hard. The real janitors, his only task was to locate and dispose of the droppings of wild raccoons and rabbits and the like, which was fine for him because he seemed to lack that natural aversion to poop that most people bore. He often, in fact, enjoyed its presence, like one enjoys a misshapen rock with no crystals. By all accounts, Calendar was a good employee, kind, diligent, even though he was very young and uneducated, even though the job was tedious and odious, and specifically designed by his father to occupy him, keep him busy and disgruntled until he, supposedly inevitably, returned to the family fold. Yes, this was all his father's kingdom, the same water park passed down for generations where he and his brothers used to play each summer. Cheap, filmy sunscreen tacking to their burnt skin like molting cicada shells. Water cool and curious. The same dingy cabin, dry and loamy. Sweat-warm bed with the sheets kicked off, shared by three brothers, one father, and never anyone else. The same itchy armchair, which sat for years untouched in the corner of the living room, which at the moment Calendar only slumped further into, freezing cold and absently paranoid, bouncing his leg. He distantly felt the urge to pick at the red dots on his face, imagined it, the clean pain. He watched his other brother, who was smoothing down the splinters on the door frame. He sighed. The answer is no, Dad, said Calendar. I hope you know this is a waste. You're leaving money on the table, said his father. I don't need more money, he said. My shift starts in an hour. We're aware, said his brother. We're aware, said his other brother. Then his brother pinched his other brother, and his father closed his eyes and pinched his nose. Okay, that's okay. But if you want to make your own decisions about your life, you have to start acting like you love us, said his father, because we love you. I don't know what that means, said Calendar. It means no more mucking about at our dingiest investment, Calendar, said his brother, his hot breath puffing out like smoke. It's a lame asset. Let it die. I don't understand, said Calendar. You gave me this job. Well, I didn't think you'd like it, said his father. I did, said his other brother, who he hated. I just don't think you deserve this, said his father, and I want you to come home. That's all. Calendar was stoned, as he typically was before a shift, and he was beginning to wonder if he was imagining them. He closed his eyes. He felt very cold. He could hear the low hum of a car off in the distance. On his eyelids, he saw the bright, dark afterimage of his family, shining in bruisey greens and purples, silhouetted as they were, like in a negative photograph. At that moment, it could have been any moment. Maybe it could have even been June again. 11 years ago, Calendar sitting on his dad's lap, beneath the red umbrella, watching his brothers clutch each other's elbows as they ping-ponged down the inner tube slide. The curly scratch of his father's dark, pungent beard, patchouli and chlorine, raking against his back like steel wool. And wasn't that his brother's voice, young and girlish, that he heard singing far off in the pool? Wasn't that his other brother's cold hand against his arm, affixing the Velcro on his float? Then again, Calendar thought, maybe it couldn't have been June. The memory felt schmaltzy and slippery, like a Punch and Judy routine. He saw with such easy sweetness the wild cats once again scratching at the chain-link fence, his father's hands cradling a dusty, steaming funnel cake like a penny for a beggar. Him and his brothers giggly, wringing out their hair at the top of the dry slides after everyone was gone. The oblong pools of water rolling down the plastic like 3 shiny marbles. A whole day's feeble accumulation. Keys rattling against the lock at lockup every night, a typewriter sound, scaring the spiders from the fuse box. A clear moon. 3 shiny marbles who did not know what lockup was even for, or who made the funnel cakes, where the funnel cakes came from, what they cost. Maybe June was too far gone, or it was too cold. Are you even listening to him? Said someone, one of his brothers. Calendar decided then that he saw the world better with his eyes closed, so he didn't bother to open them again. Maybe eventually his father and his brothers walked away, but he didn't notice. Under his eyelids, they were still there, standing at the doorway, backlit in their navy pinstripe 3 pieces, ice creaking up the tailpipe of their car, getting angrier and angrier and angrier, maybe defecating a little bit. Or maybe Calendar was defecating. Wasn't that a thought? And then he laughed at himself and at them, and he loved them, and his shift was in an hour. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julian, and I will be reading a lot of poems from my chapbook entitled Abduction by Aliens. My first poem is called Aliens Have Come to Massachusetts and Started Eating Everything I Own. Aliens have come to my house in Boston and have found a love for my clam chowder. They down bowls and bowls of it, eternally hungry, so hungry that they start eating my forks and my spoons, great big piles of them. All my dishes and my cups, even my special holiday plates I got on sale at TJ Maxx. Just piling them into their mouths, knives and spoons too, and I let them make more food and their favorite dishes, not because they scare me, but because I pester them. They let me answer the questions I have for them, readily give me answers on Saturn or Jupiter or how spaceships fly or how many terrifying, wonderful, horrible universes there really are out there. That's not a valid question. I get to ask another. And I think it works, our strange arrangement, because now I know that spaceships run on xenon and Saturn's rings are truly bright and beautiful and yellow, and Jupiter smells so strongly of the Earth's spice, za'atar, and the whole world of space becomes so close to me I don't realize when my house becomes empty. 2. Dear aliens in space, should I bring my winter clothes? I was only wondering if, before you take me away from here, should I maybe bring a jacket just in case I get cold? I know we might go somewhere warm, closer to the sun, closer to burning, which is fine. I like the heat enough, but I just thought that maybe I might get cold. I get sick when things change, like when I quit my job or when my mom died, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life somewhere sneezing and sick. I was hoping maybe you could tell me the forecast, prepare me for my new life of movement and warmth and burning, so I could be ready when you finally come. 3. Letter. Dear I, you are warm, safe. Planets are cold, danger. Even the hot burn of planet 3 or 2.65.97 have so much heat, they freeze body ice. You need to stay bundled in mattress, soft plush, keep safe, human organ protected inside, breathing bone. Stay ground zero, earthbound. Do not come. Signed. 4. I'm trying to find new dishes, but I missed my limited edition holiday wear. The aliens ate all my dishes, and I missed my Rudolph plates, my abominable snowman. I don't know what good all that knowledge on Saturn's rings does me when none of the silverware is on sale and the $20 in my pocket isn't enough for my forks and spoons. Why tell me about Zatar and how spaceships fly and how Jupiter got its spot just to leave me here, penny pinching, looking for new dishes, searching stuffed shelves for my special edition Christmas china you consumed? I thought when you started eating my table and my chairs and my desk and my kitchen counters, you were preparing me for new life, new home with you. I thought when you left me with nothing, you would take me with you. What am I at, 5? 5. Alien. When light beams down, lifts me, all I smell is gasoline. I am nothing, only warm core, glow from their mothership, radiating inside. Their machine pulls at me, its metal wires probing as they size me up, fingers gooey, leaving trails on skin, marking incision. They tear me open, gash down my body hot, burning a fever until slick enters, cold, icing me out of self. Their wires tie me up, keep slick sliding inside. I am nothing but host, slime within body, expanding, freeze, create home. 6. Alien Part 2. Patient 0 did not fight as we raised them from home, cut them open, and put icy slick. Within patient 0 were many soft things, lungs and liver, warm, sighing when removed from mother. Patient 0 did not fight. The body welcomed slick, sliding inside, creating room and walls, did not fight, slow pulse, cooling hot organ burn. Patient did not fight, cold until sludge grew, too fast, slick, filling all space between vein and bone, freezing, expanding, and expanding. Sludge poured out of patient 0. We could not fight it. Unwanted, it would not stop, opening stitches and scab, expelling from pores, ice out of body, a failure. 7. Report. Please stop moving. How to stop the breathing pulse, breaking, tearing skin. Patient fought. Squirm and kick, escaping, trying to. We could not sedate in timely manner. It was not enough. It was only after wire held them, hung them up dry, laid them out, was needle inserted into buttonhole, into organ, into our replacement cell. Resting, push into patient 0. When patient 0 finally fell under, sleeping quiet, we inserted cell, our life creating new organ, eating, conforming, forcing stay into patient 0 body. We wish for life. We waited for growth, for cell body to take. Patient 0 awoke. Patient 0 fought back. Its body excreted our kin. Its body forced ours out of life. Its body a killer. Patient weight was returned after mending process finished. 8. My removal. I need to count these. Spaceships fly overhead, and I've been missing you for months now. I cannot imagine the inside of you, the glass panels showing stars, flight plans plastered on ceilings, on floor. I do not remember your flashing lights, your glowing center core. I remember you warm, your soft touches, your ties on my ankles, your wires on my wrists caress. I remember your skin, your maybe skin, surrounding me. I remember being not next to you, but you inside, breathing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Trinette Robinson. I'm from Greenwood, South Carolina, and I'll be reading an excerpt of a fiction piece I wrote called Guinea Pig. I'm starting to think you're not getting the full picture here. I'm going to try explaining it all again from the top this time, but it's a lot to unpack, and you know I tend to rant. So I've already told you I've been doing clinical trials for that company Nirvana, partly because I thought it was really cool how they did human testing instead of animal testing, like actually getting to the heart of the problem instead of giving a group of rats a crap ton of aspartame and telling me my Diet Pepsi's gonna give me cancer. Anyway, I also needed some extra money after another one of my tires went flat, so when I was getting my allergy medicine and my pharmacist told me how they were offering $200 to try out this new mood stabilizer, but for like everyday suckiness instead of depression, I was like, cool, great. And so I looked them up, and it was only then when I was typing out, I realized, oh, Nirvana, like Nirvana. Well, but yeah, they seemed legit, so I signed up for the trial, and they told me to come to this address really close to my house the next day. So I was like, okay, bet, I can just walk there, great. And when I pulled up, I realized it was the old Rite Aid that got remodeled into a blood donation place. Do you remember when I convinced you and the rest of the guys to go ghost hunting back there, back in high school? And we didn't end up fighting any ghosts, but I did get bit by that copperhead snake. Or wait, was it you that got bit? Or no, I think I'm just mixing that up with the movie I was watching at the time, and I was thinking about us getting bit by snakes when we were there. Okay, well, anyway, I walked in, picked up the pills, and they were like, take them here at first so we can make sure you don't have any extreme adverse reaction to them. And I think you know what happened next, because I called you the same day sounding blazed out of my mind, but it was actually just those happy pills. So yeah, I don't know how I drove myself anywhere after that, but I somehow got back home, called you, watched my movies, made some bomb ramen, and that was kind of my nightly routine for that whole week. I just had to take a pill every day after work, report back to them how it affected me, and by the end of the week, I had enough money to get a new tire, so I wouldn't have to wake up an extra hour early anymore to walk to the frickin' Piggly Wiggly for my shift. Not that waking up early should be a hassle for me, because I usually wake up at like 11, but, you know, I'm lazy, at least according to Lila, which I think is utter bull for her to say about me, and I'm not trying to insult her or anything because she's your girlfriend, but like, even when I'm lazy, my mind is still always buzzing with thoughts and ideas and worries, especially about all the things I should be doing. Like, I want to do things, you know that, but sometimes I just feel like mentally paralyzed or something, I don't know. I do know that when I was on those pills, I never got that feeling, which before you start typing, I know how that sounds, but rest assured, I didn't go back for more, and I'm not gonna become some sort of addict. They hit me back up a couple weeks after, though, for a different sort of experiment, no pills this time. And this one was worth like my whole monthly paycheck, so I was like, hell yeah, why not? They told me they just needed me to log what I did every day and how I felt every hour, which was brain-numbingly easy, because I do the same stuff every day, and I feel the same way about it every time, which honestly made me worried they'd think I was too boring. So I thought about going out that weekend or going over to your house during the week, something to make me seem like less of a lazy bum, but then I reasoned they probably wanted to see my regular daily routine, so I didn't risk messing up the experiment. Having to write down how I felt every hour was a bit harder than I initially thought, though. Not because I'm lazy or anything, just because I didn't really know how I felt. Like, even when someone normally asked me, how are you? I would usually just answer good, because I rarely ever was doing bad enough to say fine or okay, because at that point you might as well say, I feel like crap, kill me now. And I don't know if that's an actual feeling, good. I mean, it's just too general. No one ever feels truly good, they just don't feel bad enough to complain. And it was like once an hour, so I just let my answers for that question get a little more unhinged as the days went on. I started putting that I felt shitty if I was going to the bathroom, capitalistic if I was bored at work, squeaky if I was cleaning, high if I was high. I did put down real answers when I watched movies, though. I think sometimes I only really know what I'm feeling when I'm watching movies. And honestly, I think that might be the only time I really feel. Like, I'm always imagining I'm the people in the movies, so I kind of have something to go off of, you know? I like getting to be a different person. And it wasn't until really recently that I realized how not okay I was with being myself. I mean, I don't have a terrible life, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of how messed up it is for me to complain as a white man in America, or anywhere in the world for that matter, but I just feel like, I don't know, I just could be doing more with my life. I sleep in every day, I have no love life, I have crumbs in my bed, and I work minimum wage at Piggly Frickin' Wiggly because my life does suck and I am lazy. I'm so lazy that even though I know I should go back to school or look for a better job, I just can't because I don't think I'm even good enough to try becoming successful, let alone actually be successful. And it's so much clearer to me since the last experiment I did. This is what this is really about. The latest experiment I did with Nirvana. Sorry it took me so long to get here, but I did warn you. Anyway, this experiment had the biggest reward, almost my entire yearly pay, just to go down to the remodeled Rite Aid and get some medicine and get in some machine for a couple hours. They said that since I was one of their long-standing participants, that I could know a bit more about what they were really working on, which, granted, I probably should have looked into that before at this point, but I'd seen the website and gotten the gist. They did brain stuff. But they explained to me that they were more specifically investigating the human consciousness and how it tangibly manifests, which I came to understand meant they were trying to tap into the mind and find the shapes, colors, smells, and any other physical aspects of your thoughts. They also mentioned the experiment really only works with 2 participants, since having 2 different consciousness to compare gives them better results. I would have suggested you, but they already had another patient of theirs lined up for me. So I went to the same Nirvana building where I got the happy pills and turned in my reports about what I did and how I felt for a week. One of the nurses led me to a bathroom where I put on a medical gown and peed in a cup. She whispered to me that they didn't really need it for testing or anything. The most testing they do is see if I wasn't dehydrated, but it was largely to make sure I wouldn't piss on myself during the experiment. She said there was a guy the week before that did that, so they figured they needed a foolproof way to ensure it didn't happen again. Then she led me to a room in the back of the building. I think it was around where I thought one of us had gotten bitten by that snake. There were 2 white pods on the opposite sides of the room that looked like 6-foot Tic Tacs. And they were connected by this big white tube that kind of branched out and went into the ceiling. The nurse took me over to the pod on the left side of the room while she hooked up a couple of wires to my temples, the inside of my elbows, the back of my knees and neck. She told me to close my eyes and relax. Stay quiet and the machine will do what it needs to do. I did as she said. I relaxed with my eyes closed and waited a minute for something to happen. I let my mind wander and started thinking of how much money I was going to make from this. That's when I felt this kind of buzzing sensation in my feet. I assumed they just fell asleep or something, but then the feeling started warming up my legs, up to my waist, and then my torso and arms. The tingly feeling fueled my giddiness and excitement, and suddenly I felt this surge. I saw a bright light zooming into my chest and bouncing around my bones. It wasn't like I was just picturing it in my head, but like I could actually see into my body, like seeing from your heart, or something less corny than that. But the light slowed down and condensed into this sort of light blue goo that started to move down in an AI slop sort of way. The blue goo pooled into my stomach and deepened in color until it solidified and started pulsing forward. That's when I saw another blast of light. It was this girl. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jaden Benhaley. I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina, and today I'll be reading for you 2 poems from my poetry collection titled Loud Music. The first, opening track, The Sheer Drop or Some Kinda Hate. With one surgical glance in the mirror, you are suddenly, in a very brutal manner, human. You have teeth and muscles and instincts that tell you to stop and take a closer look, leer a moment longer, get an eyeful. It's shiny like melting ice. It sizes you up dangerously. It's got jowls. It's calm and interested and angry. You want to hoist its cheeks up on puppet rods, lighten the mood. You want it to move. It moves. Lips tighten against teeth. The central incisors are shocked to see themselves and more shocked to feel at ease. Ivory soldiers shoot the beast in the mirror. Lips soften, soldiers retreat. Take a drastic measure. Show it what's up. Splendorize. Upturn the chin, dress down your flesh, and seek the motors that work beneath the hood. Eyes rest behind sepia lids. Honeysuckle stems waiting to be pulled out, juice and all. They've evolved to shine, hoping to attract pollinators. Level your head. It's your reflection. In a life like this, you're supposed to make peace with those you hate and trust that they will do the same. The lips twitch and the tongue flexes in the mouth, tripping over itself to say, I'm in this with you, believe me. The next poem. Track 7. Beautiful boy, darling boy, or where the quiet things are. An iris yawns, a camera lens crests and casts out, come wander with me. Record stop, CD scratch, the final drop deeply into nothing, it all shall go. Somber singing stranger, swaddle, wrap it up. Rapid eye movement, darting desperate, abysmal, behind the lids, sung to sleep by bees. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, okay. My name is Louisa Jane, and I will be reading 2 poems for you today. The first is titled Tapeworm. There's been a lot of talk about tapeworms recently, except there really hasn't. I've been thinking about them, not in the sense that I'm looking to eat a tapeworm, be serious, I'm not crazy. Just earlier this year, I watched this movie with my friend about this girl, and it was she really desperately wanted to marry this prince, so she, ate a tapeworm. And at the end of the movie, she started vomiting, and then she was vomiting for what felt like forever and forever, because she kept eating and eating while the tapeworm was inside her, and it gets bigger and bigger while it's inside you and while you're eating. But she couldn't control herself. She couldn't, and her vomit was black, and she was in so much pain, and I was trapped there watching her, watching crows descend upon the still wiggling tapeworm. And why would she really do that to herself? Why would she ruin herself like that? Because at the end of the day, she was so much uglier afterwards. And then we said we kind of wished we had a tapeworm, but we wouldn't do it like how she did it. We'd commit. We'd be prettier. 2. A few years later, I found this book about a troop of Boy Scouts who went to an island to camp, and a man washed ashore, and they took him in and fed him and stuff. But it turns out he was infected with tapeworms. Then he died. And the troop of Boy Scouts, they were stranded on this island, and all these boys had to try and not get infested by the tapeworms. And I don't remember, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I kind of remember this one part. One of the boys was sitting on a rock by a cliff, and he cut a slit into his skin, and then he dug through the skin and the muscle to fish out a tapeworm. It was nothing. And I loved that book. I was obsessed with it for a week. And I loved those boys. I was obsessed with them. I loved the boys. Their dirty hands, the leaves in their hair, the blood under their eyes. They were so innocent. They were so loud about it. I loved the boys. 3. As of today, I watched an episode of American Horror Story called Tapeworm About a Model, which is very predictable. She wanted to be on the cover of Vogue, but she went to meet with this modeling agency, and then she swallowed a tapeworm about halfway through the episode. And she poured a bottle of ranch straight into her mouth. And she was still so skinny. Until she got too skinny. So she had to expel the tapeworm. And listen, this is about the point where I wanted to turn it off, but I didn't. And then she drank the liquid cure and crawled into her bathtub, and she was gone. Her eyes were huge. And I watched her, the pool of murky bile-colored liquid, and she was screaming and crying the whole time, and it was so poorly written and such bad quality, and I hated it, but I couldn't just leave her, and I hated her for that. And I sort of found myself wanting to go into modeling to see if I could do it, maybe better than her. 4. But I read this book, and it was basically about this lesbian and her evil chat room girlfriend. She eats a steak. It's a maggot-infested steak, and she eats it. She eats the whole damn steak. There's maggots in her eyes and rotten steak juice dripping down her chin. She covers her head, and she just looks at herself and wonders. And then later, she gives birth to a tapeworm, and she pretends it's her baby, like it's really hers. And if something is inside you and eating away at you for that long, maybe it is. I don't know, I hate that book. I hated myself when I read it, like the blubber of my skin, my hammy legs and my thighs, my stomach, the shallow insecurities of every 13-year-old girl. I would sit in the shower and see how much fat I could collect in my hands. The curls and the ridges, the curls, the ridges, the curls. 5. I only ever loved the boys. They're my favorite tapeworms. I don't remember them eating their food. I don't remember the tapeworms eating the boys' food or them like coming out of them through their mouths or their genitals. And I guess like the truth is maybe I can't look at them, those girls, those miserable girls. Maybe I sort of hate them because I hate them because I see it. I see what they're seeing. I see why they did it. I see it. I feel it. I'm not crazy, but I feel it eating away at me. Inside myself, all of their tapeworms, all congealed in my stomach, and I just can't look at them too long because then I'll just start to wonder why they did it to themselves. I'll start to wonder why I feel it. This is my second poem, titled Ode to Redacted 16-Year-Old Girl. This is from EFT A02731393 and EFT A02731361. Understand how it is. I imagine looking into your eyes and finding your favorite flowers somewhere in the warm light they said of you, piano, viola, strumming itself outside the gene pool where you held her close, beauty and heart belonging, gone and not coming back, baby doll, porcelain, broken in your lap. When you say you hate New York, the city starts to scream, skyline shrieking like dead hawks, and do you still see color wherever you are? The deep space limbo of your own freedom. Could I meet you there? Could I hold your hand there and tell you the things I can barely comprehend? Your cutouts and codes have been spilt for the rest of us. Greedy fingers scour, ravish across the screen, sticky with the strawberry jam of your once favorite diary. Hungry ants burrowing through clotted sugar, and you write like you're too old to believe it and too young to understand. And do you feel emptier now, or is it relief? I'm sorry for asking questions you can't answer. Florida still sings from when you were there, and they're trying their hardest to shut it up, and I'm sorry that all I have to give you are words. I'm sorry for the absence of selflessness. I'm sorry I don't know you. I imagine you walking on some different sandy beaches, stepping on seashells, watermelon-stained blush. I imagine you eating your favorite sweet, whatever it is, chocolate truffles or gummy worms or ice cream cake or Tootsie Rolls. I imagine you softly in ways that sting, even though I hold no patent on that lethal burn, yet still it rages and I'll bring it to you, wrapped in magazine, and I'm going to buy stars in the form of glitter for you. I hope you can use them in your hair. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gus Mason, and I'm reading a couple of poems from my chapbook all about goats. My first poem is called Self-Portrait as Jimmy Jones. All ramshackle and horn, I drove my way hard. Into the pine forest, dry pulp and pine straw. It was kinder when my head was bare, true to the skin. I was soft, futile against an orange harvest moon. I charged into the creek when I was small, checked and submerged small flailing limbs. I watched my father drown himself to be clean. Over and over he washed up on the banks and I pressed ear to throat, heard him spitting up pieces of pottery, shards of printed china. My second poem is called Homecoming. I was born all bucking and throaty screams into the hands of a man who's not from here. He was gentler, kinder, held me the way a wrought river flows around green hills. He smelled like gun smoke, Earl Grey and fiery. The dark woods made my eyesight a commodity, twisting the roots into more and more figures. I never cried as much as I did then, never felt want for my mother's breath any stronger at my twitching ears. I was cold, membrane foreign to this floodplain, atoms of myself buzzing against the thick, humid air. I prayed that it would let me go, leave me inside my caged home. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jaylen. I'm from Edgefield, South Carolina, and I have an essay I wrote in my speculative nonfiction class called Fury Man. Every Sunday, Robert rides Fury 325, aka the Fury, at Carowinds, a Six Flags theme park right on the border of South and North Carolina. He's there as soon as the gate opens, and he sprints to the barricade in front of the ride. Front of the crowd, leading on the barricades, waiting for the park to open up. He likes to dress up for the occasion, too. His shirt is always Fury 325 merch, usually the one made to look like a baseball jersey, and a pair of sports sunglasses that have Fury Man painted across the lenses. The frames are also that signature yellow and electric blue of the ride. He made the glasses himself. He's very proud of them. He once dyed his hair to match the outfit, only to quickly realize it really highlighted his receding hairline, so he immediately dyed it back. He does all this because he's a Fury marathoner, a hobby that means that he rides the coaster as fast and often as possible. While he waits, he likes to listen to the people in the crowd. We didn't have to leave so early this morning. A little kid around 7 or 8 years old is whining at his mom. He's probably barely tall enough to ride the Fury. Despite the sun not being fully up yet, there's a white cast on his skin from the sunscreen. His mom is holding a baby, and Robert wonders why she would bring the baby if it meant she couldn't really ride anything. The baby is somehow sleeping even through all the noise coming from the crowd. I'm not running until I see someone else running. But if I see someone else running, I'll book it. Some college guy here with a huge group, probably a frat, given the Greek letters on their hoodies and t-shirts. They kind of stink, like they skipped a few showers and didn't bother with deodorant. There's no chaperone with them, so they're obnoxiously bumping into people and yelling across the crowd. I still think you should have let my sister drive us. A girl around 14 is half arguing with her friend. Only half, because while they're debating something, neither seems to be getting heated about the argument whatsoever. They're sitting on a small bit of ledge by the fence. Occasionally, they both just go quiet for a few minutes before picking up the argument again. I like your glasses. A man in his mid-40s comes up to Robert. He's here alone, too, seemingly. Thanks, I made them myself, Robert replies. Are you a Fury fan? No, not really. I've never ridden before. I just moved to Charlotte. Is it hard to see with that paint on your lenses? Not really. Oh. Well, you clearly like the ride. Have you been riding it for a while? I mean, a pretty long time, yeah. I marathon it. Marathon? What do you mean? The man just keeps going. Robert continues on for the next 15 minutes through what has got to be the most boring conversation of his life. The man doesn't care about nor notice Robert's lack of interest. Robert runs as soon as they open the barricade, hoping to be on the first train of the day. They call different roller coaster cars trains, by the way. He thinks getting the first train is a good sign. There's usually 16 rows with 4 seats each, and they run 3 trains at any given time, occasionally 2 in the off-season. There's no single rider line, and it's rare to find a group of exactly 4 people, so there's typically plenty of empty seats for him to pick from. Early in the day, there's usually not even a worker directing people to different lanes, so that makes it especially unorganized and easy to find a spot to seat poach. Seat poaching is when there's an empty seat on a train, so as you leave your train, you go back and get onto that empty seat. Fury 325 is a consistent winner of plenty of awards, most notably the Golden Ticket Award for Best Steel Roller Coaster nearly every year, and is widely regarded as the most popular coaster in the park. It gets its name for the number in its name for the maximum height of 365 feet, taller than the Statue of Liberty. Unlike many coasters in the park, it doesn't really have a theme. It's just kind of vaguely wasp, but there's also some stuff hinting at electricity. Robert thinks the theme isn't important. The Fury hits speeds of up to 95 miles per hour, though it'll usually only hit about 90 miles per hour if it's not hot out. Robert knows that from riding in both the coldest part of winter and the hottest days of summer, that the Fury rides faster when the tracks heat up. It also conveniently mentions it on a sign in the gift shop. There's a lot of guides that holds big records for marathoning, with a guy named McLean holding the most rides ever at about 13,000. And Daryl holds the record for most rides in one day at 56. Robert's on a first-name basis with both of them. Obviously, he meets them on occasion in the ride queue. They were both nice guys, though McLean was a bit more polite than Daryl. They both post about their marathons online, and McLean even has a custom license plate that says, "The Fury Guy." A bit presumptuous. If you ask Robert, there's plenty more Fury guys than just him, but people online say it's fine because he's been at it since the ride opened in 2016. There's a few more marathoners, though they're less well known and don't hold any major records. Alvin is an older man who marathons for fun, and he doesn't like to poach seats, and HJ is much more to himself than other marathoners. He usually wears headphones while in line, so he's the only other notable marathoner Robert's never spoken to. There's also a running online theory that he isn't even dedicated to marathoning, he's just been riding casually for long enough that he's gotten higher in the ranks. Robert does not hold any records for his rides. Despite riding every single Saturday for the last 4 years of his life, he holds no notable titles or records. He's had about 3,000 rides, less than any of the other guys, but he's coming up on AJ. But today, while hopping into the fast lane on his 32nd round, he saw a teenage girl way back in the queue looking at him like he just kicked her puppy, so at least people notice him during his rounds. And last year, a woman named Brenda complained about him on Facebook about him skipping the line, so he's at least well known. And he's pretty sure she was talking about him. The description sounded like him, and he was there that day. He's not admitting that he was cutting the line or anything. He liked seeing people come to his defense, saying that seat poaching isn't bad because those seats would just go empty anyways. He's not in it for the fame, though. It's an ego thing for him. But he'll just tell you he loves the ride that much if you ask him why he does it. Or maybe it's some strange desire to be a part of something as notable or great as a Fury 325, to be interesting and well-known as the ride itself and the park that it's in. Carowinds itself has been open since 1973, meaning that there's around 50 years of history baked into the park. Interestingly enough, the company that built it actually went bankrupt from the cost of building it and had to sell only a few months after opening. Anyone whose family has lived in the area for a few generations can probably ask their parents about the park and found that they went there at least once as a kid. The vision for it was always big. It was even originally intended to house an NFL stadium. Its site goes through many rides and franchises throughout the year. It's been open so long it lost copyrights to use franchises as rides, like Scooby-Doo, Star Trek, and most recently, Top Gun. There's only one ride left from the park's opening, a small wooden coaster called Carolina Gold Rusher. It's broken record after record with its rides, and it continues to. Who wouldn't want their name as a footnote on something like that? Now, I'm sorry to say that everything I've told you about Robert is a lie. Fury marathoning is indeed a thing, and the other men mentioned are locally famous, but Robert is a fabrication based off of a guy I saw cut the line at the park last week. He then proceeded to poach seats for the next couple hours, and even when the row should have filled up, he'd managed to steal a seat and keep it because he appeared to be friends with the ride operator. I saw bits and pieces of this since I only rode the ride about 3 times with about a 30-minute wait time in between, but I could see everything he was doing from the queue. He made a scene, left trash at the ride platform, and filmed most of the day. I couldn't find any of the videos he made on social media, but I found many posts throughout the day complaining about him. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm from Anderson, South Carolina, and I will be reading a nonfiction piece titled Little Princess. My first friend was a princess. If she had a name, I never heard it. She was always the little princess. My dad introduced us. We were the same age and didn't live far apart, so our friendship was more or less destined. Mostly, we played dress up and pretend. She was born cool, being a princess and all. We would invent games about ninjas and dragons and unicorns. Playing house at school seemed drab when compared to her, but then everything did. The little princess didn't have friends aside from me. I don't remember her having any siblings, and I never met her parents. From the few words I heard about them, they seemed warm yet distant. She was lonely, I think, and it wasn't self-imposed. She tried to make friends, and the king and queen encouraged her. Something held her apart, though. I hesitate to call it maturity. She picked up on things quicker than others, perhaps, and that garnered praise from adults, but she wasn't mature. She giggled at the word duty. I don't know if she recognized her isolation then, or if she knows now. I think she must. I imagine she cared. Humans are social by nature. We don't deal well when we're excluded, even if it's unintentional. There's a greater chance than not that she spent sleepless nights wondering, what is wrong with me? Not when I knew her, though. At least, I hope not. I certainly couldn't have handled an existential crisis at 5 years old. Thinking back, the little princess probably had a strange home life. She didn't talk about her family. I never visited her house, although I saw it from outside. It sat atop a tall hill. It looked like it was straight out of a child's crayon drawing. It was square and made of red brick with a triangle-shaped roof. There were no houses nearby. When I close my eyes and picture it, there's a moat at the foothill. I don't think that's real, though. The only family member I saw was her dog in a photograph. He was the same breed as my dog, a Beagle Basset Hound mix. One day, he got loose. The princess descended from her castle, and together we scoured the streets. We spent the better part of the afternoon searching. I imagine us alone, calling the dog's name, I can't remember it, and crouching to peer under bushes. Logic tells me that my dad must have been with us, but my memory says otherwise. The little princess started to cry. This I am sure of. I wrapped my arms around her in the awkward way children do, and I rubbed her shoulder how my mom did when I was upset. I'm sure our conversation went something like this. The little princess, sobbing, "He's going to get hit by a car and die, and I'll never find him again." Me, "I mean, you might find his body?" I've always been a realist, borderline pessimist. Hours had passed, and we needed to head home before our parents started to worry. If her dog wasn't dead yet, he probably would be after nighttime. We walked home, and I let the little princess dry her tears and snot on my sleeve. I envy my younger self's unbothered mien. She liked making mud pies and sticking her hands in fountains. Now, all I can think is someone probably peed in that fountain. My dad was in the street when we rounded the corner. He saw the little princess's tears and rushed to soothe them. I explained that her dog was dead. Neither my dad nor the little princess appreciated me. "He's not dead," she argued. "That's right," my dad said. "I bet he's waiting for you at home. Dogs come back when they get hungry. They're not the hunters they were when they were wolves." I remained a skeptic, but when I next saw the little princess, she seemed right as rain. I suppose her dog must have returned, but I never saw evidence, nor did I ask. Come to think of it, I never saw her dog in all the time we were friends. It's possible she didn't have a dog in the first place. That seems like too elaborate a ruse for a child, though. We stopped seeing each other around the time my sister was born. If I had to blame someone, I'd blame myself. Today, I let texts from my closest friends sit unread for days. I'm quick to accept guilt unto myself. I do think of her from time to time. How could I not? When I was a child, my best friend was a princess. It makes for an excellent game of two truths, one lie. But she's on my mind more often lately, more than any other friend from childhood. In August, I'm off to college, 117 miles from home. I figure that's the reason for her haunting. That, and I keep butting heads with my dad. I want to ask her if she is too, if this is the universal daughter experience, even between kings and princesses. The issue with childhood friends is we were too young for social media. I don't even have her phone number. The phone book has no one listed under princess, little. With no way to contact her, I resort to imagining how our paths would cross. If I am impatient, which I usually am, she is a stranger I bump into on the street. I won't recognize her. It's been over a decade, so she must be someone that catches my eye. She is boldly eccentric, and her clothes are expensive. I think high fashion is ugly, but something about her outfit rings a bell. Maybe she's wearing the pink cowgirl boots we eyeballed in storefronts. It's just enough to make me ask, have we met before? She doesn't think so. I list middle, elementary, preschools. She knows none of them. She tells me she was homeschooled all her life. I give her the address of my childhood home. That's probably a bad idea. What if she's a con artist? But I am desperate for connection, and I swear we knew each other once upon a time. "Oh," she says, "I live nearby. You might remember my house, the one on the big hill." She recognizes me in bits and pieces. I think most people would prefer a movie reunion. We lay eyes on each other, and our memories come rushing back simultaneously. My mind is too hardwired for reality, though. The world is not movie perfect, and such a scene would feel fake. In this imaginary scenario, relief accompanies my desperation. She's not feigning recognition, as my mom did in sympathy at a drive-thru when a former patient began telling her about abusive parents. It comforts my realist sensibilities. I can't imagine a princess remembering me. She recalls sleepovers, fills in small details, says, "I used to read to you, right?" But I wasn't actually reading. I would just look at the pictures and make up a story to go along with them. Our conversation is inanely mundane. She has somewhere to be, but is too polite to excuse herself. She has nowhere to be, and is starting to grow enamored with my obsession with her. I'm not usually the one over-invested in a relationship, but I am this time. It's easier, I think, because she isn't real. I've been a night owl since I was born. It was easier for my parents to manage before I learned to walk. After, they resorted to baby gates, and I taught myself to climb over them. If I was awake, I demanded entertainment, and I turned to my parents. My dad was their sacrifice. He carried me back to bed and tucked me in, and he would tell me stories until I fell asleep. Each one had a lesson. In hindsight, I'm impressed at his improvisation. These stories started the same way. Once upon a time, there was a little princess who lived in a big house on a big hill with her mom and dad, the king and queen. I wish words could capture the inflection in my dad's voice. He speaks loudly and assertively, but when he would tell me about the little princess, his voice was the gentlest I've ever heard it. More often than not, my dad would nod off before me. I would shake his shoulder, begging him to finish the story. When it ended, my dad would go back to his room, but I would lie awake, imagining another story. The little princess went on all sorts of adventures. She searched for her lost dog, yes, but she also learned kindness and respect and how to fight dragons. She found a tree that blossomed with cupcakes. She made friends everywhere she went. I tried to tell my sister the story of the little princess, just once, when I was in 1st or 2nd grade. I spoke the opening lines, then sat there, unable to invent anything further. I still don't think I could. There's too much sentimentality trapped inside the little princess, too much of my dad's affection he rarely puts into words. My mom says he came from a family different from the one they've raised us in. His family talked less about their feelings and shied away from hugs, yet none of that showed in the little princess and the tender voice my dad used to describe her. My mind has fractured her into something else. The little princess has become a symbol of badassery. That's what all modern princesses are, aren't they? They're sword-wielding or gun-toting, and they have no tolerance for what society has to say. But that's not the little princess. I've forgotten that she is only 5 years old. She is small, with a freckled face and crooked teeth and a bob. She loves her pink cowboy boots. She is a child. I'm learning to miss her. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tristan Gibson. I'm from West Columbia, and I'm going to be reading my fiction piece, Wild Animals. Two men walk into a bar, one after another, single file. It's their regular spot. The bar's name doesn't matter to either man. They both know that the bartender's name is Sasha. One of them knows that she's married and has been for a while now. One of them thinks she's cute. The two are both white, but one is less white because his mother is half Chilean. Jackie is the close but not quite white man, wearing a dark green waxed cotton jacket, sitting on the second nearest stool to the rightmost corner of the forward-facing bar. Trent is the ethnically uninteresting white man. He's sitting at the other end. Neither knows the other exists, and neither of them are having a good day. If placed on a scale from bad to awful, Trent would be somewhere in the middle, and Jackie would be in turbo hell. Trent was laid off 3 hours ago. Jackie lost his uncle in a car accident at 9:49 a.m. and found out 1 hour after that. They've taken their usual seats a few stools away from one another. Trent, who no longer has any source of income, takes off his favorite baby blue puffer. Jackie tries to remember the last time he told his uncle, "I love you." Jackie, 1/4 Chilean, acknowledges that "I love you" is an amorphous phrase that can be communicated through 100 different mediums, such as text messages or gestures made in passing, or other more obscure things like nicknames, all of which carry meaning and weight at different levels and in their own ways. But he doesn't know if he has to be aware that he is saying it, or whether or not the person has to know that he is saying it to them, aware that he loves them, for it to carry anything at all. Trent, unemployed, waves down the bartender and asks for a whiskey sour. He strikes up a conversation with her, something about her new haircut. Jackie decides it was a month ago during Christmas. The two men are a year apart in age. Jackie is 28, Trent is 29. Trent's mother died when he was a teenager, and it was about that time he started drinking. He insists that he's over it. In fact, he's been over it his entire life. Contrarily, both of Jackie's parents are alive. It was his father that called to tell him about his uncle. The phone call hinted to Jackie before he'd even picked up that something had happened, because his father only ever texted him. Trent compliments Sasha's trendy tribal tattoo sleeve. Trent wears blue more than he should. Jackie's uncle was the first real death in his life since his dog. Trent has $2,311 in his savings account, which will allow him a month of grace while he looks for a new job. Jackie, bereaved, doesn't remember how much money he has, but he knows he's behind on rent. When the bartender makes her way over to him, Jackie asks for a whiskey sour. Trent, semi-orphan, unbuttons his shirt to make himself more attractive. Jackie stares at the grain of the bar, wondering when he's going to cry. Sasha places Trent's drink down first, and he thanks her. He also asks what time she's off, but she allegedly doesn't hear him. Jackie, whose uncle died 12 hours ago, seriously considers the idea of an afterlife and ghosts, and whether or not people can live on in spirit, weighing the good things his uncle has done against the bad things. He gave Jackie his first cigarette, as well as his first drink, as well as his first joint. He also sold his mother's wedding ring for a used car when he was in his 20s. But after some time, people forgave him, and it was way before he died, and now that he's dead, it shouldn't be a big problem, really. Sasha places the second whiskey sour in front of Jackie, so Jackie thanks her, so she smiles. The second time Trent asks the bartender what time she's off, he calls her by her name. Trent has a habit of pretending he's unbothered by things worth being bothered about. Unemployment isn't a big deal to him. He's never been stressed about rent. He's really determined to live up to the narrative in which he isn't an anxious person like at all. He's been addicted to smoking Newports since he was 16. It was cool back then. His mother was a smoker. More of his savings will go to cigarettes than food, and while Sasha thinks he's sweet and has a good nose, and she likes that he tips generously, she breathes through her mouth when she's around him. Across the bar, Jackie wipes his forehead. The last time he remembers crying was a few years ago, but it wasn't a sad cry, it was more of a frustration cry. He doesn't know if that counts. Trent doesn't cry at all. He might not even be capable of crying. He's starting to get a little agitated because the bartender might be ignoring him, but maybe she can't hear him. Lots of people are talking, it's not like he cares. Both men sip their whiskey sour at the same time. Neither enjoy it. They order a whiskey sour because they've always ordered a whiskey sour, because their fathers ordered a whiskey sour, and because they don't know what else they're supposed to order. Jackie wonders if his father cried after finding out his brother had passed. Jackie wonders what that would look like. Trent had seen his father cry only once, 2 weeks after his mother died. He'd caught a glimpse of his father groaning, rocking back and forth on the edge of an empty bed with his head buried in a striped dress. Yellow, the dress was yellow, Trent remembers. As far as Trent is concerned, his father has not cried since, and his father would not cry for the rest of his life. Trent admires that. Trent thinks about how he, as a child, would turn his head away from his mother when she spoke to him because he wanted to avoid looking inside of her mouth and seeing her teeth. He lights a cigarette. He holds it between his middle and index fingers and watches as it burns. He puts it out. The bar is almost empty by 12 a.m. The men are still there. Sasha went home an hour ago. Neither of them know the other bartender's name. The new male bartender is hairy and unfamiliar. Trent is drunk. Jackie has come to the conclusion that he will feel bad eventually, probably at the funeral. He still has work tomorrow, though, so he's about to go home. Both men stand up, both stretch, and both walk towards the door. They leave behind empty glasses. On his way out, Trent forgets his favorite baby blue puffer. Jackie steps outside first, and he takes a deep breath, puffing out his chest. It's a regular Monday night, and he'll never speak to his uncle again. Trent stumbles behind him. They bump into each other, they exchange a look, and they see each other in the reflection of their pupils. They both have brown eyes, they both have black hair. They look eerily similar, but neither notice. On any other night, Jackie would have either ignored or shoved the man intruding into his personal space 3.5 feet past his bubble, overstepping the permissible proximity between strangers, assaulting his senses, almost supremely drunk. He tries to move out of the way, but Trent slips and, trying to avoid falling, wraps his arms around Jackie's torso. Trent leans forward and upsets the center of gravity. They begin to fall, the two of them, together. Jackie tries to balance himself as he stumbles backwards, the heel of his right shoe sliding back across the pavement, over the cigarette butts and the sun-bleached glass. Jackie reaches out to grab something and claws at air. Trent mutters something incoherent, that he liked his job or something along those lines. Trent thinks about how unfair it all is, how life seems to want the worst for him, how he wants to go down a good path in life, how he can't do that if nothing ever works out for him, how he can't keep on keeping on if all anyone ever says to him is no. Trent squeezes the fabric of Jackie's coat. Jackie takes another 1, 2, 3 steps back before he finds his footing. His feet are positioned like that of a football guard, one knee bent and the other straight, the heel of the foot of the straight leg raised. Jackie's arms are spread out and his palms are open. Trent steadies. Trent loosens his grip. They stand there for 6 seconds without a word. They breathe in and they breathe out. Jackie thinks about the last time his uncle hugged him, and with that, the last time he told his uncle, "I love you." He didn't say it. The phrase, "I love you," was implied in the way he loosened his arms around his uncle to give off the illusion of letting go, only to then squeeze him tighter. Jackie can't know if his uncle understood this. He thinks about that. Trent balls his fist, scraping the tips of his fingers along the back of Jackie's coat. Jackie brings his hand to Trent's back in the cautionary way a person hesitates before petting a wild animal. Trent assures himself that he's not sad. He doesn't get sad. He's never once been sad in his entire life. Jackie's vision blurs. Neither man is fully holding the other, and neither is trying to pull away. Jackie's palm is flat against Trent's back, but only his palm. His arm is raised precariously over Trent's shoulder like a cane, generally avoiding any contact generally considered too intimate for a stranger. Trent says to Jackie that he's only holding him so he doesn't fall. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lil Oxenrider. I'm from Gilbert, South Carolina, and today I'll be reading an excerpt from a fiction piece and a poem, but fiction piece first, called Parting Gift. I tried wearing my dad's wedding band the other day. The band is silver and cold. I have to wear it on my thumb, and even then there's a slide to it, so I've been curling my index finger inward to force the ring down. There's an engraving on the inside that I like to imagine I can feel. It's a faint white lettering that says, "I am my beloved's." He got the engraving after my mother passed away a few years ago. It surprised me because he's not a sentimental person. He must have really loved her, a conclusion I came to only after she passed and only after he got the engraving. I can't actually feel the letters against my skin, even when I press down really hard, which makes me wonder why he got it. It's easy to forget it's there, really, you can hardly see it. Why did he do something so romantic and pointless? That was nothing like him at all. Trust me, I would have liked him a lot more if it had been. It's pretty telling of my father and I that we only had one real argument and it felt like nothing was solved. It wasn't caused by anything like the careless nonsense my dad did in high school or college. It was because I didn't show up. After all these years, I still don't know what to make of it. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. My father's funeral was 3 weeks ago. The quality of his life made his death feel more like a death and less like a passing. He didn't think of himself like that. A death. Nothing soft about it, not at all sudden. He'd been getting older, naturally. Old age was an inevitable failure of his and everybody else, though old age is no longer a valid excuse for death. The International Classification of Disease, ICD, renamed it Aging-Associated Biological Decline in Intrinsic Capacity. They renamed it because it's impossible to classify dying from old age, since growing old doesn't really kill you. It's a multitude of issues allotted over one's lifespan on Earth, and diseases and harm that befalls them when their body is too debilitated to protect itself. It cannot maintain homeostasis, and so it kills itself. The body kills itself. Not violently, not with any bad faith, but because it simply can't persist. It gives up. Giving up is the only natural thing there is. If I told Dad death was weakness, it would have made him upset, and he probably would have closed his eyes, a thing he did when challenged with anything. I don't know what there was to discover behind his eyelids. Something only for him. Something like the engraving on his wedding ring. If I told Dad death was weakness, We'd have a little spat about it, but he'd likely think it wasn't worth his time. He didn't like philosophical debates like that. It was all folly to him. It's not even that I believe it. Death, being the body killing itself, being weak, I know it's not weak. It's just something that happens. I just like to imagine for a moment that presenting the idea would have made my dad feel imperceptibly knocked down to my level, whether he'd admit it or not. And my poem is called 10 Notes with the Same Feeling. 1. The little round candle on my toilet tank has a label that says, "Baby, light my fire." I hadn't thought about it before. I started wondering if the candle was meant to be some sort of romantic gift, but ended up on my toilet instead. I started wondering, is the candle speaking to me? Or not to me, but the passerby. Baby, light my fire. Strike your match, light my flimsy wick with a low breath of fire. 2. I walked in the ocean's shallows and saw a jellyfish. It was a pasty white, sort of see-through, with a flower on the crown of its head. It's one of those things that inhabit life and death in the same body. It could only move with the tide. 3. Is it selfish of me to want to be remembered so badly? 4. My friends and I sit on the hill, talking about dying and becoming. It's scary, but it's not like we believe in not being here, on the hill together, as the leaves brush shoulders. I wonder how many people lose feeling when they've promised to keep in touch. 5. I find purpose outside of me, and somehow it finds its way back in. 6. It's hard for me to cry for more than 5 minutes. Lightning lashes from the friction of heat, from how warm the night smells these days. The streetlights hang on cigarette butts and bloodstains. There's nothing that can't be done in a breath. A person breathes enough to turn the ocean red. 7. Whenever there's a breeze, I have to close my eyes to cope with the feeling of a touch I wouldn't be able to see either way. 8. I drove home and the sky turned gray, then it turned rainy. Silver, gold, and slick verbose evening. From a distance, the rain looked like nail tracks, gouging restlessly at the dark blue beneath the clouds. The rain clawed all the way to the ground, then back up again. 9. I can't sleep without feeling sorry. 10. Baby, light my fire. I can't stop thinking about it. It was so pitiful. The wick was too small for it to burn down. It held the fire there like that, a crater around the center of it, gouged out, melted, soft, and against itself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maria Agustina. I'm from Indian Land, South Carolina, and I'm going to be reading from an abridged version of my hypothetical nonfiction piece called The Perfect Life. In the perfect life, I'm born an Emily or a Catherine or a Julie. I'm born with fair skin and bright blue eyes, and my head is covered in thin, pale hair. I have 2 kind parents that love each other. I get brought home from the hospital in a Buick, snuggled in soft pink blankets while my parents coo at my perfection. My baby brother, Jackson or Mason or Carson, is born, and I love him so much, and we never fight because we get along so well, and we're best friends for years, especially because in this perfect world, our parents don't divorce, and they never have another kid, so it's just us 2. I grew up in the suburbs of a nice neighborhood with a big backyard and an in-ground pool. I play with the neighborhood kids every day because in the perfect life, I can run without getting tired or my back and knees aching and my lungs can catch up in a normal amount of time. And when the sun starts to set and the street lights go on, my mother will call me back into the house and I'll come running to wash my hands and sit down for dinner, which consists of chicken pot pie or meatloaf or some other American classic. And at school, I'm the most popular girl in class because I can run fast and I'm nice to everybody and they can actually pronounce my name. So in the perfect life, I'm beloved, not a quiet, rude loner that has to hang out with the other quiet loners. In this perfect life, there is no pandemic, and my parents never divorced, so middle school is uneventful for me, since my parents are still married, and I don't have to go through all the drama involving their remarriages. And I passed my classes with flying colors, and I managed to make more than a 77 in Algebra 1. In this perfect world, I get to high school and decide that I'm going to go into engineering, because in this world, I'm good at science and math. I start taking all the honors and AP classes available to me. I'm on the school's tennis team, varsity, and I'm prom queen and student council president, and I'm on the mock trial team and the academic challenge team, and I'm so good at all of these things that I'm winning awards and championships, and people like Big Stupid Jackson never make fun of me for being dumb, because in this world, I'm smart and cool and good at everything I do. And in the perfect life, I get to date boys. Not the sad, lonely ones that smell weird or have bad teeth, but the cute ones with minimal acne and the idea of muscle. They pick me up from my house late at night, and we go to parties together where we smoke and drink recreationally, having harmless fun with one another that I won't end up getting in trouble for, that I won't end up telling my parents about until my 30s. I graduate high school with honors. My stellar grades and long nights and sleepovers spent on my laptop finishing assignments landed me in the top 20 of my class. My gowns decorated with cords from both Beta Club and NHS because I dedicated so much of my time to those that didn't have all the good that I have. I go to Georgia Tech to study engineering, where I meet my very handsome, very rich future husband, who is a legacy student at the same university. We're married after we graduate, get our doctorates, have 2.5 kids, and we go to work for SpaceX because what Elon Musk does in his free time doesn't affect us. And my husband and I will continue to make bank and then retire early to spend the rest of our lives raising our kids and dedicating ourselves to the church and exploring the world in an eat, pray, love fashion until we move to Florida and live happily ever after. That's what would happen in the perfect life, as per the United States standards. But in my real life, I was born Maria Gustinina, the first Ecuadorian daughter in the U.S., colored bright pink at birth with a smattering of dark hair on my head, with bleary olive eyes that at some point changed to a glittery ruddy brown. And in my real life, my younger brother Paolo and I fought all the time as kids, always punching and shouting and tattling, like most siblings do. In my real life, I grew up in nice neighborhoods with nice people and nice kids, but I didn't hang out with any of them. I didn't like playing the running games they all did because my legs hurt too much and my legs couldn't keep up with theirs. And when I was 9, I let go of my bike handles on a big hill and ended up scraping my knee on the road and tearing open my favorite leggings. So I stopped playing outside and started watching more cartoons and hiding in my room until my mom called me down for dinner, which was usually some stewed meat over a bed of rice. And in my real life, I didn't have a lot of friends at school. My name was hard for most everybody to say, so introducing myself was a hassle. I moved schools more than once. I didn't have a phone until 4th grade, so I was decidedly uncool. All of this meant that my only friends were the other kids without friends. So sometimes I drew pictures at recess with another quiet kid, and others I pretended I was a cat named Longclaw Tiger Star from some books I never read because the only kids that would play with me were the ones that liked warrior cats way too much and pretended to fight like cats, circling and hissing and clawing like some wild beast. And in my real life, I was bad at math, and I've never failed a class, but I've coasted through more than once, barely passing with a C after a barrage of failed quizzes and assignments. English and art were where I strived. I could read for hours like most quiet kids could, and when I wasn't reading or writing, I was filling out sketchbooks in between assignments. I was smart, but the responsible careers never really called to me, so I was stupid. And in my real life, on March 13th, 2020, my class was sent home for 2 weeks off of school. And those 2 weeks turned to a month, turned to the rest of the year because of COVID. So in 2020, I spent almost all of my 6th grade year online, on Roblox, and in fandom spaces I shouldn't have been in at 11 years old. But that's where I was, and that's where I learned about and started caring about politics, and where I realized that there's more to the world than what affects me. And in my real life, my parents were not the picture of a perfect marriage. The house was tense even when they were happy, so when they divorced in 2020, I was thrilled despite my new stepmother and new sister that I didn't know what to do with. And in real life, I was chubby and weird for the first year or 2 of high school. I didn't date, I didn't go out, and I didn't drive. I didn't look cool even though I thought I did. My dark hair was wavy and frizzy and afraid it would dye, so for freshman year, my hair had chunky, frizzy, decaying money pieces that changed color all the time until we dyed it back to brown before my sophomore year, in which I desperately tried to turn myself into somebody normal by wearing the same striped blue Hollister zip-up literally every day and changing all of my perfumes to vanilla because I thought that was in, but I was the farthest thing from it, really. What I wanted was to belong, so I left. Because in my real life, there was a school in the upstate built out of brick and ivy just for juniors and seniors, and though I'd spent a short stint there in the summer, it wasn't enough. I needed to be there. Every day I spent uncomfortable and alone in my old school was another day I wished I was there. So in April of 2024, when I received my acceptance letter, I was over the moon. In my perfect life, my junior year of high school, I left my tiny hometown for a slightly larger one. But it was still real life, and when I wasn't in class, I was falling deeper and deeper into an anxious, almost depressive pit. It was the first time there wasn't another Latino at arm's length, the first time I'd ever really felt alienated for apparently having an accent, and apparently being very obviously foreign, and being even more foreign because I couldn't catch the obscure pop culture references made by my teachers and classmates that all somehow knew Queen's lead guitars from the 1970s or something. My roommate was hardly ever in the dorm because even as a senior, she went home every weekend, so I didn't have anybody to talk to on the weekends. The people I'd clung to previously had separated from me, and by then, everybody else was in the group, so I didn't have anybody in my corner. In November, the election turned out red, and I was terrified for myself and for my family. I wasn't the worst writer in class, I didn't think, but I was so far from the best, and that absolute mediocrity made me hate myself so bad. I was sick to my stomach every night, crying my eyes out often, and overall just feeling deathly afraid that maybe everything I'd ever done was a mistake, that I should have just stayed at my old school and started dual enrollment and stay with my friends in South Carolina forever to marry an almost attractive man and have a gaggle of kids I hated. But that was winter, and spring always brings something new to the world. When the sun was finally shining and the grass was green again, my spirits started lifting. Because spring meant ice cream and boba with new friends and writing bad poetry for my third quarter classes, and when I left for the summer, I was skinny for once, and I got to go to Mexico and sunbathe and swim for a week straight. And in my so far pretty perfect life, my senior year is almost over. And all I know about the future is that this time next year, I'll be in New York starting all over again. I don't know why I'm crying. I'll call home and bitch in my foreign language that my roommate won't clean so our drains stay clogged. I'll cry myself to sleep in the winter when the homesickness gets especially bad. I'll have my first walk of shame out of a bar or out of a house party. And I'll be going to the student-run tea house in the mornings and go with my friends to a tiny cafe in the city so nobody from school will know we're talking shit. And I'll be up at 1 in the morning finishing the assigned reading or cutting my bangs or with my first boyfriend or girlfriend. We're at a concert, and I'll take a deep breath and realize that every single moment, every horrible thing that's happened or been done, and every amazing good thing that's come my way or been bestowed onto others, each and every second of it led up to that moment. My perfect life awaits me, and I can't wait to begin. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Corinne Glenn. I'm from Fort Mill, and I'll be reading 3 poems for you guys tonight. Sorry, I'm trying not to cry. Whew. Okay. My first poem is titled, Dear Dr. Ivinson. I don't know how to say this to you without raising concern or saying something much worse, creating disbelief. But one day, the day after our last session, there was this orb that showed up on my doorstep. It was red and looked two-dimensional in the sense that it was this flat, translucent circle no matter which way I looked at it. I stared for so long, I noticed that when I tried to look at it from another angle, it turned with me, like it wanted eye contact. So I stared back from a distance. I didn't want to get too close to it, or at least I didn't want to at first. When I tried to close the door, slam the door on it, it wedged its flat body into the doorway in which I saw it wince, a low thrum, its shape pinned between wood and wall, and when it hummed out its pain to me, geometry met wild animal, a trapped being that craved mercy, and I felt bad for that faceless thing. So I stood there for a moment and let it open my door, ease itself into my home, and that's when I realized its hovering called my floors useless. I tried to ignore it. I tried to ignore that ridiculous excuse for shape, but it followed me down the hall and let itself loose into my house, crammed its red into the box that carried my ex-girlfriend's things and put its sheen onto each of my unpaid bills, scanning number and love letter, saturating my life with its body before leaping to follow me into my bathroom. And when I closed the door, it slid under the crack, and so I stared at myself in the mirror and brushed my teeth, focusing on bristle scraping at gum, mouth prickling, slowly tearing myself to bring my attention to the fact that it stood on the other end, at the other end of the room, facing that mirror too. And I wanted to ask it why it'd stare into the mirror if it had no face, no identity, only an outline of itself to look at, but I didn't. By the time I went to bed, I thought it'd also rest, stop being this suffocating, all-filling feeling, but it didn't. I thought it'd lay at my feet on top of my covers like a dog, but it didn't. It laid with me, not on top of me, but it sort of through me that I never wish on anyone, because as it settled, putting my body on its y-axis of a plane, I didn't feel anything. I didn't touch it, I didn't dare. It rested inside me. I never touched it before, so I didn't know. In that moment, I could have sworn we were the same. My second poem is titled Contemporary Planet. There's a community we think you'd be delighted to hear about. It's off exit Q17 on the extraterrestrial highway, a planet of new opportunities and fresh starts. Clean slate made of 180 square miles of metal. You've seen us on every printout of your resume, projected on the halls of your cramped housing. But if you zoom in far enough, look close enough, you could see the lights of little lives blurring, smearing, fading. We are home to the intergalactically acclaimed one and only man-made ring around a celestial body. It's a disc, a record, and boy does it sing. Rustling of filing cabinets as they bump into space dust. Can't you get used to the sound of stapler pinning job flyers to walls made of steel plating and Mars mineral? I can bet that the chambers of our permanent space shuttles are bigger than your room, this room. Don't you miss the guiding hand of a salary? I bet you can bury yourself in work. Let manila folders dull on the tabs of one another. You could choose to let waves of Post-its crush you. They'd be too plentiful to paper cut. There's no need for distance when we have office building. Have you ever thought about how nice Saturn's ring would look on your finger? We have trees and ocean, and don't you miss birds? Did you ever believe that they were free? Was that before you knew the difference between living and decision? My last poem is titled Self-Portrait as a Reality Show Contestant. I watch a girl who is me, but I know she isn't because she doesn't look like me or speak like me or pick up her cup with her right hand like me, and he was able to make her laugh when he wanted. I watch my TV. In it is a man sitting in a booth at a diner, his arm around a girl who isn't me. They are celebrating something. Balloons bob their foil-clad bodies, hitting the asbestos ceiling with a rhythm. Her laugh is made of something nice, a delicate thing I can't quite name, because if I could name it, I would try to have it. Hold it in my damp palms and trace it with my fingers just to remember how it feels to possess it. I wanted to get off my couch and touch the screen, to plunge past its thick glass and be so close I could feel the booth's leather seats. I wanted to argue my case. I wanted to say, I, thrill-seeking girl, I, taking long hikes on the beach girl, I, sunrise at candlelit dinner girl, I, the type you take home to yourself girl, was made to break through this screen. Pushed through shard and let it scrape my insides till they're out. I don't want to be one-sided window of woman or pile of party favors. Maybe there's something in me that could jingle onto the floor, that could be streamers of crystal and PVC confetti and disco glass of mirror ball, something in me that's so reflective even planes could see it. Thank you.
There it goes. Hi, my name is Amelia Squires. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, and I will be reading a nonfiction essay called Radiographs of a Soul, which I would like to dedicate to the senior creative writing class of 2026. I've never liked doctors' offices. They're too sterile, too clean. Doctors' offices take themselves too seriously, which makes me feel like I should take them seriously too. Sitting in the waiting room about 30 minutes before my appointment to be x-rayed for potential scoliosis, I try my very best not to be nervous. It's not even something I should really be nervous about. It's not like I have to get any shots or get an IV, but still. Just sitting in the office has my leg bouncing and my nails picking at my skin. To calm myself, I close my eyes. I try to think of something else. My mind wanders back to faint memories of having my x-rays organed as a child. I wonder then if machinery exists to x-ray souls. I try to picture the souls of those I know. I have a friend whose soul would smell of incense. I think it would be somewhat floral, kind of fruity too, a scent that's sugary and bright. It would smell of the color pink, smell of tarot cards and love potions. The scent of her soul especially reminds me of nights spent in her dorm room, senior year, having impromptu sessions reading tarot cards for our various concerns. College, relationships, classes. Her scent is nostalgic of a time I know I will miss when we both graduated. The last person before me gets called to the back. At this point, there are probably only a few minutes before I'm called. I rub my hands over my legs, letting the friction from my jeans warm my palms, bring me back to here and now. I have another friend whose soul would sound like an old record player. It wouldn't sound like any one record specifically, but like the constant revolving of different records. Each record would have a slight pause, a dip, where the song would be distorted, because he would have handwritten notes and recommendations on each of the records, so that others could share his love for music. My name is called. Another reason I dislike doctor's offices is being led around to the room you'll eventually be situated in. The halls are always too twisty, turny. It feels like I'm being led through a death maze, where someone will chase me back through, and it's going to be my job to remember all the turns I took as I was marched through there, which obviously I will not remember. There's another friend of mine whose soul I think would smell of books. I always seem to catch her reading a new book I've never heard of. I find it impressive that she's able to find all of them. But her soul would carry the smell of older books, not newer, like walking through a library and discovering an older edition of a book that you've read before. There's a nostalgia to this smell, something comforting in turning the pages of something you know you already love. Though strange, I feel like one friend of mine's soul has a taste. I think anyone who knows her would agree when I say I think her soul would taste like Dr. Pepper. It's her favorite drink, to the point that the red in her dyed hair matches the red of the can. I sometimes wonder when mosquitoes bite her if they can taste the soda sugar in her blood. When the doctor who will perform my examination enters the room I've been led to, she laughs a bit at how obviously nervous I am, which, I can't blame her for, but I still decide to glare at her a little as she walks over. She explains that this examination isn't anything major, just making sure that my body is safe to go through the x-ray machine. I sigh, close my eyes, and lie down on the table so she can begin. I have a friend whose soul would smear against your hands and lips like lipstick. Probably black or a deep, vampy red, as that's what I see on her own lips the most. Definitely one of those lipsticks that ties together an outfit, that kind of feels effortlessly chic, worn on the lips of every cool girl you see walking around New York. At the beginning of senior year, I remember we would talk about our ambitions, what schools we wanted to go to, what cities we'd like to live in. Hers is a soul that I believe is uniquely destined for New York City. Another friend has a soul that I think would feel like an electric spark. It would be the kind of electricity that doesn't harm you, that sort of just tingles, dances across the skin, lighting up the room for you. This friend is probably the most energetic person I know. And though sometimes I joke about him being a bit too loud, I genuinely think that my life would not be as bright or fun without him. The doctor finishes the examination, tells me to sit up. She gets up to leave, saying that someone will be in shortly to lead me to the x-ray room. She puts a hospital gown on the counter, telling me to get dressed in the meantime, to make sure I don't have anything metal still on. Another friend of mine has a soul that is a kind of green that reminds you of spring, of warmth that feels just right, that tickles and dances across your shoulders without ever burning your skin. Green, like the hair of the main character from their favorite show, the character that most anyone who knows them would say they are exactly like. The green of their soul is slightly quiet, subdued, as this friend is probably the most shy of everyone I know. But the green of their soul is a green that reminds you of warmth, of freshness. Being around this friend always leaves me feeling refreshed, their sweet and gentle nature reminding me that there is true, unfiltered kindness in this world. I have a friend whose soul is clean. Oh gosh, sorry. I can do this, guys. I can make it through this essay. I have a friend whose soul is clean, whose soul tastes of purified water. Junior year, I always used to stop by her dorm room in search of water, as we lived on the same hall and she kept a water purifier in her fridge. Her soul would taste of the kind of water that is bright, that is fresh, the kind of water you would find in a woodland spring, the kind that reminds you of the joy of drinking water after too long spent without it. This friend is one of the smartest people I know. In every class we've had together, it always feels like she's taking the best notes, always knows exactly what we're talking about and what we're doing. Being around her brightens my day. There's a friend whose soul I think shines bright, glittering, like a warm ray of sunshine. partly due to the fact that her name pays homage to the sun, but also because she is one of the most brilliant, shining people I know. She's an excellent artist, the kind of writer I find it hard not to be jealous of. And every time I read something she's written, I find myself in awe of what feels like pure, unbridled talent. I'm led through the halls, making our way to the X-ray room. I know a peer whose soul would smell like the river. Earthy, a bit fishy, an almost humid scent, the kind that carries a sort of weight in your nose when you inhale it, as if you're drinking this scent. Some may not like this particular smell, but I think he would probably enjoy it. I think that it would remind him of all of the fishing trips he's spent with those he loves. I don't know where you are in the crowd, Allison, but I'm trying to make eye contact as I read this. Another peer has a soul that sounds like the clinking and bangles. I collect bangles myself, and whenever we pass each other in the hallway and he is wearing his bangles, I definitely feel a spark of jealousy at his collection. But he is also a bright, jingling kind of person. Whenever I'm around him, the thing I hear most is laughter. I get to the room. They put a lead vest around my shoulders and lead me to the machine. The weight of it relaxes me in a strange way, the pressing heaviness against my shoulders forcing my feet to stay on the ground. There are two peers of mine who are so inseparable in life that I can only imagine that their souls are connected, fused slightly together, like the heads of conjoined twins. I think that, even when they are attending their separate colleges, the connection of their two souls will mean that they are always in the company of one another. Another classmate has a soul that feels like yarn, soft to the touch, warm. One of the most overlooked strengths of yarn, including the yarn of his soul, is that, given time and placed into the right hands, yarn can grow and be crafted into something truly beautiful, something amazing. I think I've seen that transformation take place during the time that I have known him. I close my eyes and let the X-ray overtake me. It is here, at the end of this essay, that I must admit two things to you. First, I have to admit that there is no way for me to know the people I have mentioned in this essay well enough to accurately depict their souls. Part of me is inclined to believe that some of them might even disagree with how I presented them. Second, I have to admit that, of all of the souls I have written and rewritten, the one I have the most troubling is my own. In the many attempts it has taken me to write this, I have not been able to come up with a single quality that my soul might have. However, I do have one wish for what my soul might be. I hope, if someone examines my soul, that all they will see is a reflection of all the people that I love and who love me. Thank you.
Everybody's crying, in case you didn't know. Can we give our readers another round of applause, please? Thank you all so much for coming. Have a great night.
Here, you get one.